Welcome to the Beats and Balance Podcast, a space for conversations at the intersection of creativity, healing, and community. Each week, we sit down with artists, healers, and everyday people to explore stories of transformation, resilience, and the ways we use creativity to survive and thrive.
All right, LaShekia, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Beats and Balance Podcast. Let's get started. If you want to first off by telling folks a little bit about your background, how you got onto your healing path.
Oh, happily. So I'm a researcher and an educator, specifically medical anthropologist, but I delve also into other subfields. So my subfields in anthropology are spirituality and religion, ethnomedicine. I also public health, so nutrition, food culture, health disparities, and social determinants of health. I've been on that path professionally since 2011, but personally since 1993.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and how I arrived here was I grew up in a hotspot. So that's an area where there's concentrations of autoimmune disease or any particular disease, not just autoimmune, but autoimmune disease was my focus in Buffalo, New York. And when I was in high school, there was a huge cluster, and our house sat in the middle of it, of different types of lupus, kidney disease, breast cancer. And the community mother was telling me, hey, there's meetings about this. And, there's something going on in the water. And that sounds crazy to me. And so, and then I got sick. And so, by the time I got into my freshman year of college, I was a part of actively telling my story and using it as a curative method. So it's a long pathway.
Yeah, I feel like that is a common thing for folks that have chronic illness. It kind of, I also have a bunch of chronic issues with my health, which is how I got into this path as well. And it kind of forces you when your body is not acting right to figure things out, especially as a woman and a person of color in a country where you can get gaslit a lot by doctors and medical institutions telling you it's all in your head, or it's not as bad as you think it is, or not listening to all the concerns you might have. So it really takes a lot of individualized personal study, which is a lot when you're dealing with being sick, and then also having to put in the work of figuring out why you're sick, and then the injustice of being well, everybody around me is sick, so how do I fix that? Which the stress of that can then make you more sick.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about how do you manage all of that? How do you deal with your own personal health struggles while also all of the research and things you're doing, and the healing work that you do, while also maintaining some type of spiritual balance, and also just preventing burnout just in general?
Yeah, the burnout came last. I'm almost 50. I'm just now figuring out a nap is a good idea. Because I was always so high achieving. And I think when you're dealing with chronic illnesses, especially when they come at pivotal points in your timeline, it makes that worse, because your whole ideas about temporality are shifted, and your markers are very different than your peers, but your peers are still there. So I learned that balance part very late. The other part came relatively naturally, because I had a lot of agency to do it. And it was strange because, like you were saying, my journey with chronic illness started very, very young. But, culturally, we're very dismissive of children when they have complaints. And so I had all the classic symptoms. And then I had juvenile RA and all the classic symptoms of poor immunity issues. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're fine. Oh, you're fine. Oh, you're fine. Oh, you're fine. Oh, you're germy. Or you overexerted yourself in dance class. Or, oh, you didn't go to bed at night. Oh, you eat vegetables. Something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learn to, besides the fact of the things that Black women do, we just, until you literally cannot walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up having early my second rheumatologist ever when I was 19, because I was literally in an insurance gap. He was a professor at the University of Buffalo. And he explained to me, he was very honest, and the team at Roswell was very honest. We don't know what's wrong with you. And we're going to throw a lot of stuff like darts at the wall and see if it sticks. But what he did that was so pivotal, he said, here's the science behind this. And then here's the social science behind it. You're smart. And he would give me all these articles, and I learned how to take clinical notes while literally relearning how to write and relearning how to walk. I was learning medicine and self-care, narrative medicine at that. And so that type of agency became natural, and it saved my life because, dealing with Dr. Arrogance when you're chronically ill is a thing too. And because, as you know, personally, I'm sure, autoimmune illnesses are like thumbprints. And being aware of what works for you personally and what works for you and your lifestyle, even if you don't study medicine, and having the agency to say no to certain treatments or certain types of doctors literally has saved me time and again. But I had help with that. And unfortunately, I think I'm special in that regard. I don't think the average person gets that type of support. Or else I wouldn't have work to do. So, and so those things helped a lot. The spiritual balance came with outside help too. How we contextualize healing and wellness in what was my early experiences in practical religion didn't apply to the types of supernatural healing or alternative healing that other adults who kind of came and got me, or honestly, my ancestors who came and got me, taught me things. And later I found the science behind it. And those things were, life-saving as well. So I just literally very, very fortunate.
Yeah. So you're from upstate New York. I'm also from upstate New York.
Nice.
Yeah. My mom was born in Buffalo. I'm from Kingston. Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting to hear you talk about like all of these things. I know intimately, like the healthcare system upstate is atrocious.
Yes.
It's like the South in terms of like segregation and the way that they treat and talk to Black people. So to have a doctor even talk to you as if you have intelligence is rare in and of itself.
Yes.
So I'm like hearing your story. I'm like, yeah, it was like you literally had to have like all these check marks go right, which in the situation in which you were living is almost impossible. So it feels like is very like an aligned path that you are on.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because you're here now, spreading your knowledge and sharing it with others.
Thank you.
So I could feel like the importance of that work. And also just really resonate with like, yeah, no, like that's not normal for upstate. Like,
yes.
Yeah, no, not at all normal. What was your spiritual upbringing like upstate? Like you talked about like in your bio doing work with like ancient practices and Kemetic sound healing and things like that. For me, growing up upstate, like my grandmother, I had two different upbringings. My white side of the family was Quaker, and my Black side of the family was Pentecostal, and it was very like demonizing of a lot of spiritual things that they were using themselves but didn't have the name for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like when I think back about my grandmother, she had incredible gifts, and she was definitely beyond supernatural in her abilities to heal and lay hands and pray over you and things like that. But if she were to hear that I was doing Reiki today, she would probably think that was like witchcraft. The same exact thing that she was doing on me when I was a kid. So like how is that for you growing up? I'm interested to know if you had a similar experience or if you had kind of the opposite experience. and you were able to like kind of embrace that part of spirituality, or how did that go for you?
Oh, the witch thing came later too. And I'll come back to it. Which is so that's why I'm like laughing in agreement. And some of my research is in exactly what you said. I'm sorry. Some research I contributed to was on how segregationism impacts our beliefs, and it was in Pentecostal populations here in Buffalo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it. It was something that my mentor was working on. I was like, yeah. But I grew up incredibly active in church. We were Protestant Baptist, but you know how it is. You go to one church during the day, and then in the evenings, on the weekends, you go into Pentecostal practices, and everything's kind of in the same bed. But growing up, there was a Muslim family in our neighborhood that I spent an incredible amount of time with. It was a community mom. So that ideas on Islam and practices were normal because, you're consistently exposed to it when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
There was a father figure in my life who was deeply into alternative practices, and he came into my life at a time when I was tired of pretending like I wasn't having these experiences because I knew I couldn't talk about them. Mm. And he exposed me to the formality of all the things I was already experiencing. And so that's where it came in to normalize it and say, oh, you're not weird. You're having this experience. And I think what stands out in my mind, what I thought about immediately when I first got your communication, right before I got very sick, he gave me a book by Dr. Andrew Weil. Mm. If you're familiar with him. He was like one of the early dudes in integrated healing. And his first book, he talked about his former wife preparing her body to go into labor and visualizing and then talking to each part of her body and how it responds. And I was like, what? Yeah. And I tried it. Now, I had always responded to music in that way. My uncle was a DJ. I'd play with his equipment and separate channels and sounds, and I could feel the resonance and see it through the music, the color and the timbre of the music as I adjusted it. And I knew there was something there. But again, as you're young, you don't have names for these things. You just know that they exist and there are connections. And so it was just something that was consistently present, but I was consistently quiet and compartmentalized with them. Mm. I didn't really start actively talking about it, even in my work as an anthropologist, my own experiences until the last 2-3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to ramble, but that's what would get me, and this isn't a criticism, but it's my own gripe. When we would go to healing services and my body was going through these great transitions that I knew it wasn't time to have this confession about it because I knew what exposure meant. And there was this push to, confess and proselytize and say what was happening. And I was made to feel horrible when I was silent. Mm. And so even in that, where there, I think the intention is to produce agency, they still continue to steal it.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm a young adult, so it's not even a thing where you're a kid. I'm grown adjacent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was contrasting things that ended up working together.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. How were you able to push through that? And what advice would you give other people who are kind of having those same kind of issues? Because I think that's a common thing, especially for women, Black women. It's either side of the spectrum, either you're forced to be kind of silenced or you're forced to kind of be way out and have to be aggressive to kind of get your voice heard, which then, labels you a bunch of stereotypes. So it's kind of like, I feel frustrating for a lot of folks that I talk to and trying to advocate for themselves.
Yes.
It's like, how do I advocate for myself without being labeled as being aggressive or combative, and all these things? But how do I also get people to hear me and take me seriously?
Right. Yeah, it's a hard balance. One thing I kind of, when I do community health education, it's making sure that people know they have permission to feel. And I was shocked the first time I did that type of exercise with women. It was this big release. And I was like, people need that? And yeah, they do. I start with that, and to let them know you're not crazy and you're definitely not alone. But let's start with you're not crazy, because you've internalized so much. You're not only having this like dual experience with your body and your, this betrayal of your body, then your psyche starts chiming in uninvited, but still having something to say. And it's so subject to external things more than we realize.
Yeah.
And so getting to those first 2 points of number one, comfort, and number two, owning your experience. And then that gives you language, real language, that's yours, for your narrative. I know another reason why people are often quiet or underreport is because they feel the need, and I blame white coat syndrome, but they feel the need to report back to the doctor in clinic speak. And some of that is, just the nature of language, but also intimidation and perceived hierarchies and worthiness. But, also giving people some words that make them feel empowered about their experience is helpful. And you're probably not going to find that in a journal, but that's what they give you. So that's a big thing. Once you do those first three, you're going to know when you're in front of your right practitioner, your right audience, even your right self, to look in the mirror and own the betrayal, and then own, all right, let's make a plan. So how do we take back our power after this betrayal?
Yeah, I think those are all really solid points, and necessities. I think another thing also is just like making sure you have a strong community, like
Yes,
not everything by yourself.
Yes,
Try to bring a friend with you and a witness at all
yes.
times. I just wanted my wife had cancer, and so with being on that side, like as the caretaker and the person in the room, that was like, oh no, like I'm gonna be at every appointment because I need to make sure, one, that she's being heard, but also that the documentation is being documented. Like every doctor you go to, they have different information. They're not necessarily talking to the other doctors. And if you're sick and not able to keep up with that, or if there's any type of confusion that you're going through, then all of a sudden you're taking medication that you shouldn't be taking. Like it's very easy to slip up and get caught up and get yourself more sick.
Yes.
So definitely make sure you always have somebody there if you can. That's why community building to me is so important.
Yeah.
Because it takes a village, not just for kids. So you, as an adult too, you need people. So yeah, I loved everything that you said. I would just add that one thing is just try to have somebody with you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your specific journey and get more into like the sound, vibration, and spiritual aspect of things. Let's talk about like how you weave together history, science, and spirituality, because you're trained scientifically, but then you also have a knowledge and a practice of spirituality. And a lot of times people don't want those two things to blend. Even though to me, I think they blend seamlessly. I think everything is everything. Like, like it is what it is, whatever you call it. But a lot of people, I think, have trouble marrying those things together or seeing how they fit together. So how does that work for you?
They do. And that's what attracted me to anthropology more than public health, because I was like, I get to show up more present when you're discussing psychosocial things and emotional and spiritual things. I think the best example of that is an exhibit at the Natural Museum of History. When they did their reconstruction of the gemology lab, there's a video from the then president. I think he's still president. And it's about ideas on creationism versus science.
Mm.
And about how for so long it's been, these ideas that there needs to be a separation, or they need to be clashing identities, when there's such beauty in seeing that two things can be true. And so in that, and it was so plainly but elegantly put, and risky. I applaud him for even doing it. That's kind of the approach that I take when attempting to connect the dots, which is really, I think, what I do. I'm a dot connector, and even people who would like to deny one part or another, and they're very free to, the idea of getting them to acknowledge that something existed or exists, or whether it's a phenomena or like a spiritual phenomena, or some physical presentation of a spiritual phenomena. The fact is, a part of you is observing it, and that's why we're having this conversation. Mm-hmm. And so it helps people arrive at things comfortably and still allow me to be in truth, and us both to be objective. I think other cultures have done that far better than we do now, with some more popular contemporary belief systems. And I think it's interesting to see people revisit these things, even though, we're far removed from it in our observance of the chronology of it. We're closer to it in how we've sort of developed as humanity. And I like that people have more room to feel like that's okay. But it's been a fight to get there. I think in doing that, it means revisiting and having hard conversations about things we've created that don't work. And I often do that, even with things I have claimed to believe. I'm like, that's not right. Or yeah, but that don't work. Like, you can't take parts of things in some regard, especially when we bravely accept the whole of human experience. And unfortunately, a lot of what we do in terms of for the sake of religion does that.
Yeah.
And we suffer.
Yeah.
Quick pause to thank Mantra Matcha and Severista Coffee for supporting Beats and Balance. Mantra Matcha gives you sustained energy, focus, and antioxidants without the crash. Severista is perfect if you love coffee but want less caffeine and fewer jitters. Use code BALANCE for 15% off Mantra Matcha and 25% off Severista Coffee. All right, back to the episode.
I would say, I think what the biggest draw to spirituality, or the biggest takeaway that I've had on the journey that I've been on, is being comfortable with being wrong and realizing like that's where the truth lies, and like the just like relief at being able to like this isn't working. I'm not gonna keep forcing my way through this. That was something that always in school used to drive me crazy. I was a history major.
Nice.
And like, was always writing papers. And when you're writing these research papers and theses, and they're always, you have to talk like what you're saying is fact. And to me, that just at a soul level, it makes no sense. How am I 18 years old writing as if I know anything is fact? Like it doesn't, and it would hurt me to do that. Yeah. And now I understand why, because it's stupid. Like it doesn't make sense. And I think that's the issue that we have in society, is that people want to be so like gung-ho about their ideas and their thought and their ego that forcing themselves to do things that are actively hurting them all the time.
Yes.
And it's like, once you just step out of that and are like, actually, like, there is no harm in saying like, nah, this is wrong. I'm messed up and I don't want to do this anymore. And like, just step away, and like a whole new path opens up, and you're like, wow, like,
yes,
it's going to end.
It's true.
It's like, it's mind blowing that it's that simple, but to me, that is it. That's the answer. The answer is that it is okay to be wrong, and you
Yes.
can just do something else.
Yes.
Jeez, I don't like. I really appreciate you saying that, because like, I wish more people were just like, yeah, no, like it's okay to be like, embrace being wrong. Like that is the point. Like you do something to figure out how much you like it or don't like it, and then once
Yes.
it stops being good, you stop and you move on.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why that seems so revolutionary, but it really,
Sense is often revolutionary.
yeah. Like I'm just like, yeah, that's to me, that's God. Like just being like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
like I'm wrong. I don't know anything. I know
Yes.
nothing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I really feel that deeply. So anyway, move on. What are some of the tools or the instruments that you use and that you feel like have helped you the most on your like personal journey?
Like sound healing, I'm just gonna think about the last couple years. Like since 2021. Sound healing has been incredibly effective, not just resonant sound, like Schumann, as a science, Schumann, yes, but not just listening to echoed frequencies, but being present with the sound around me, and then my own sound and breath. A lot of the work I had to do was throat and sacral, and for what was my giftedness, this is what really needed to be fixed the most. And so understanding the power of internal voice and how to tune that, being clairaudient, and that was hard training. Learning to decipher that, and being present, because you have to be still and quiet, and I'm not good at that. So,
Yeah.
and so being still and being quiet is for me was a tool, which meant isolation to some degree and for some time. And then going back to what I was telling you I do as a kid with isolating channels. When we meditate, we do that all the time, really. We probably don't think of it like an equalizer, but we are continuing to manipulate sound in that way by what we're choosing to focus on. But we're so goofy. We always think of sound as this singularity, but there's so much sound everywhere, consistently. And so very simple things where voice was my tool, hearing and echoing were my tools. I just started really getting into bell work lately, only because, and it was not intentional. It was a part of my daily ritual, and then it started clicking to me why it worked. I'm like, oh, you're goofy, but okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense to me. I mean, I'm a DJ, so like the way you broke it down, I've never broken it down like that. Like, but I'm like, oh yeah, like my brain was like, oh, click, like yeah, that makes sense. Like think about it like an equalizer, and you're tuning out different channels, and we do that all the time. And I think like for me with spirituality, especially as like so like I have CPTSD, so like since childhood, a lot of trauma, chronic depression, anxiety. I've had to really like pull myself and work through, and that's a constant up and down struggle. And the way that I've been able to kind of look at that is like as wavelengths.
Yes.
Life to me is very much like wavelengths. And this is where everything, like the science and everything, marries to me, the spirituality, because it's all there. It's all the same. But it's like you have your ups, you have your downs. And so when you're in a low, my way of remembering is like, well, you're low now, so it's only going to go up. And that kind of what helps pull you up. But when you think about it in terms of like an equalizer and DJing, I'm realizing another way that I think about it that I didn't conceptualize that way is that like you can choose what frequencies you're tuning into.
Yes.
Like you said, it reminds me of my mom as a kid. I'd be like, mom, mom, mom. And like she'd tone it out. And then I'm like, Becky. And then she's like, what? If I say that word, She can, if I could say mom 10,000 times, she would not hear me.
Uh-huh.
She had trained herself to tune out that word.
Yes.
And it's the same, like, but trying to figure, like, we were so good at doing that the opposite way, where we tune out everything good around us, and we're so quick to focus on the negative.
Yes.
But if you put in some, like you said, it takes practice.
Yeah.
But you can flip that switch and start tuning out the negative and have your sensors so that it's picking up kind of all the positive things around you. Like for me, like I've started, and this is not, I hated as a kid waking up early in the morning. But for whatever reason, after my grandmother passed, I started waking up when she woke up, which is 5 a.m. or earlier.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I don't I was a kid that woke up at like noon, so it was like a shock to my system to be like, oh, so we're just up now. Like, I don't even know what that part of the day looks like, feels like, smells like, nothing. And so I realize now, though, it's like I get to wake up and see the sunrise every morning.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful, like, in all senses, from hearing it to the birds waking you up to dogs and the energy that they have first thing in the morning when we go on that walk when the sun's coming up.
Yes.
And it was, to me, such a chore. Like, if that would have been me as a kid, like, oh, you got to go walk the dog at 5 o'clock in the morning, I would have been like, absolutely, like, are you crazy? And now it's like, that is my biggest blessing of the day. Like, that's like the time that I look forward to. And so, yeah, it is really like, it's like kind of radio tuning yourself to picking up the vibes and the frequencies that you want to pick up on.
It is.
So yeah, I just had that whole epiphany just now, and that's my ADD. But as you said that was what was like going in my head. So I figured I would share.
I have to share if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So a 5 a.m. wake up, especially if you consistently do it independently and it was gifted to you, it's such a beautiful time in the spirit realm.
Mm-hmm.
And where you're standing between these two spaces to listen, really to listen to both aspects of it, and then carry. I had no idea you were a DJ, and so
it's balance. That's how we got.
Well, yeah, I was just like, oh, it's music, cool. But I think that particular last hour in that fourth watch is so pivotal for people who are transmitters and gatekeepers. And you're right. It's usually, I happen to think the same as you. It's not your natural time, so it's not really you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I know. It's my grandmother waking me up to have her coffee. I feel her, what I mean? Like, I feel her strongly at that time. Her and my wife passed. And I it's like, I know that time is like my time with my people and my ancestors. And it is very much like, I'll wake up at 3 sometimes. 4 o'clock is like my normal wake up time. So it's like still dark outside. And then I'll be up. Sometimes I'll be up like the whole day, but sometimes I'll be up like 10, 11, and I'm like taking a nap mid through the day. Yeah. And I realize that my whole body now is kind of like on a different rhythm. Like the 9 to 5 is not 9 to 5ing for me anymore. Like my system has adjusted to a different kind of time schedule. But it is definitely not me. It's definitely something that I feel very like grateful for, and like it feels very intentional. It feels like intentional time and space. And I also struggle with the stillness and even though I was raised half Quaker, and their whole thing is like sitting in silence, I always had struggles with that. And so this forces me, because the whole world is kind of still and quiet at that time. So it's like there's no distraction. So yeah, it really feels aligned. And it's wild because I've been having these conversations with people, and like, for people listening, we've never met before. And most of the people that I've had on this show, I've never met before, but a lot of folks have been having kind of similar experiences, similar themes have been coming up. So it just feels like really cool that like all these people kind of are aligning on this way. I have so many different like backgrounds and experiences, but I'm always kind of like struck and reminded like at these moments of like, oh, like we're all on kind of some similar like path, and there is some kind of connection, which I think is super important to highlight in the midst of the like political climate that we're living in now.
Yes.
Where I feel like we're all so separated and there's so much division.
Yes.
So yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know. What else do you want to get into? What is there anything that you would like to talk about that we haven't covered?
I can talk for ages. So, have you noticed, like, and here's a question for you. Have you noticed that since you've been doing this work of creating this like thread of experiences through narratives, and you've had these huge spiritual shifts and two big losses, how does it impact how you perform, or how does it impact how you approach music, if at all?
Yeah, I would say it has definitely impacted. So I've had many losses, more than just two. My life is filled with death, which is not as sad as it sounds. I mean, it's sad, it's tragic, but from where I've come to understand how things work, it's not as sad as it once felt. But I didn't used to DJ. I always wanted to DJ. My godfather was a DJ, and then he passed first around 2016. And I swear to God, not until this second right now did I make that connection. But yeah, he passed in 2016, and that's when I started DJing. I got my first lesson 2017 when I was living in LA. And it just kind of started happening from there. It was something that like I was raised kind of to believe that I needed to be heavily in academics and that my other kind of passions weren't real jobs. So like I wanted to go to film school. Yeah, but I ended up, being pre-law and studying history. So my life kind of went one direction, and then through death and realizing that life is too short to be living anybody else's dreams, did I realize that like, nah, like I said, like that epiphany of just like, no, like I don't want to do this. And I was wrong. And I spent all this time doing this one thing, and it's okay to be like, no. And so I slowly shifted, and it was something that through COVID, just like people wanting to get out more, I started doing events, like pop-up events in my hometown for folks for free. And it's just something that's kind of merged its way in my life like that. But yeah, no, my normal job like has been in nonprofits and like political organizing, and DJing was always kind of just like my little side. I was always extremely, extremely shy. That's another way that I know that it's a spiritual thing too, because I am hella shy, performance anxiety and all those things. But after my godfather passed, and then after my grandmother passed, like for whatever reason, like that shyness kind of just like went away when I was performing. And I've had moments where I know it's like my godfather, like I had an instance where like I dropped something, or like the whole deck was about to fall off. And however it happened, like the next song that came on that I didn't touch, like seamlessly mixed into the other song, and nobody knew that, like things like that happened. And I'm like, okay, like there's somebody else that's like helping, or I feel like people are coming through. Like DJing to me feels like being in a trance kind of, where it's like I'm not fully in control of the situation, if you know what I mean. Like it's like I got other people behind me who are way more skilled than me who take the wheel sometimes. So yeah, that's how it kind of came in with me. That's not a very direct answer, but
but it is.
Yeah,
it is. I think DJs are huge mediums. Honestly, when I was at this last stage of my journey before I started actively speaking about it and teaching it, it was music that really was a huge medium for me. And to the point where it was happening so frequently, probably like when you dropped your deck, you look around like, am I being punked? Like, this is too spot on, like down to the lyrics and everything, speaking to me directly. And I would, I'm a scientist, so I'm going to experiment. But it would happen everywhere, everywhere, different cities, different conditions, different, feeds. And I'm like, all right. I hear you. And the best thing I could have done was to not be that girl, to want to be accepted and be quiet and be like, I'm going to share this. So, I wish I could DJ.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you
I'd
can.
be so bad. I'm too busy dancing.
But yeah, there are those of us that like to stay behind the table, and the ones that like to be out front.
Yeah.
All are valid and necessary.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm sure if I like anybody that, especially if you have that spiritual connection to music, I swear to you, I used to think that I would be terrible at DJing because I'm so in my head and would be so anxious and like I feel like I would be clumsy and whatever. But it
Yeah.
really is like a trance that like it flows and the anxiety just goes away. And it's like Sinners in the movie. Like it's really like that. It's like you got people, the music starts, and then there's all these spirits coming through, and you feel it, and you're part of it, and you're not you by yourself anymore. You know what I mean? There's like a
Yes.
chorus that's happening,
Yes.
which is the beauty of
Absolutely.
music. Yeah. So yeah, if you ever want lessons, I got you. But I think you would be okay.
Thank you for your confidence.
Yeah.
I normally get totally dissed for my bad mixtapes, but I like them.
That matters. As long as it's speaking to you, like you said, like the music will speak to you. Like I definitely will have moments where like lyrics are directly talking to me. And me and my wife actually had complete opposite music tastes.
Oh.
Yeah, like complete. Like she was funny. Like her man. Yeah, she had me up in the Nationals concert once. We were the only Black people in Madison Square Garden. That's a different story though. But like when music, huh?
Did you say the Free Nationals?
No, not the Free Nationals. The Nationals.
I was gonna say I was there at Anderson Block.
Yeah, no. The Free Nationals is very Black. That's
yes, I was there.
The Nationals is not so much Black. They're dope though. But yeah, we had different music. But it's cool now. I realize because like when music that is her music comes on, I specifically know it's a message from her. You know what I mean? There's no confusion.
Yes.
It's practice. Like this would never be on my playlist. How is it playing right now? And so it makes it like that much more direct and that much more easy, I think, to get those messages coming through. So I've learned, like it used to be a joke between us, but now it's something that I really cherish.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So let's see. Anything else anybody else you feel like advice that you could give to people maybe that are interested in getting into sound healing or anthropology or anything?
Oh yeah. Sound healing sounds so bogus because we really take sensual experiences for granted. And I was in a really great program, the Theater Development Fund, and they dismantled it right like 2021. They had a beautiful program that existed about 5 years before that, where they would expose micro communities, mostly Black women, in Uptown, in the Bronx, in Harlem. And we'd go to the theater and then we'd create public programming for it. The last one we did, I did a sound bath and I did a meditative labyrinth. So all these sisters coming in and they don't know what to expect. And this was someone who did it with another sister who did it with singing bowls. And they were crying, multiple experiences because they just said, all right, I'm going to give it a try. And you saw people shift on right there immediately. And I think that's the best advice I can give anyone. Even if they're in divine health and everything is balanced, just try it. Have a half of an open mind to expose yourself to it. The sensual experience, like you have a lot of experiences with death. Some of the experiences I had spiritually were through types of death medium, honestly. That wasn't what I chose. It chose me. But I like to believe it was because it forced me to connect back with the power of the sensual experience and the gift that it is. And the power that we have within us already to, use to heal one another. And sound is one of the big ones. And it's accessible. It's accessible. If you can't go sit in a sound bath, they have really great ones on YouTube. Free. Just give it a try.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely something that's what makes it, I think, music so universally powerful, is that you can sing and create your own, you can always get free music.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love that. And also, just a plug for us, we just uploaded some Beats and Balance healing tunes and playlists on YouTube, so you can check those out for free. We have affirmations up there and
So,
some other sound
share.
and things like that. Yeah, we just put those up this week. So for people interested, you could start with us. But yeah, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of free resources for sound baths. I'm really into the singing bowls and the chanting. Like, I just got into like the Tibetan monks. The what is it? Gregarian?
Oh yeah.
That one is a little bit too intense for me. Like, gets me like it's a little, but the Tibetan monks, I could ride with them. It keeps my vibration high. The other one it starts getting a little bit dark and I get freaked out. But
Yeah.
I do feel that's how powerful. Like, you could feel the shift of energy immediately.
Yes.
Depending on what you're listening to. So definitely, I encourage folks to give that a try. Thank you so much for being on here today with us. I feel like I learned a lot, and not just about you, but like about a whole ton of things. And it's so interesting how you have so many different interests and you're able to kind of weave them all together.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this has been really great. Anything that you have coming up, or anything else you want to drop or mention before we hop off today?
Happily. On my podcast, we just came back from a nice little summer hiatus, and we're talking about the creative process, but from the perspective of source. Like, where does that come from? How do you define it? And how do we sort of regard and respect the creative? No different than, you were talking about how you have a different respect for sound.
Mm-hmm.
Because of your experiences, not just as a medium, but as a music lover. And so I would invite anyone who would love to talk about it or listen to me ramble about it
Yeah.
to join me. I love hearing people's process, and I thank you for sharing your journey back to source through music. So that's really dope. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you. Tell people what the name of your podcast is. Everything will also be down in the bio, but just for folks listening.
Oh, happily. It's the Love Genus Podcast. We're hosted on Podbean and Spotify and Apple Music.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm sure those will be riveting conversations. I'm excited for that. Have you heard of the book, The Flash of the Spirit?
No, put me on. Who's it by?
It's by some white guy, but I'll send it. I'll send you the email. I don't remember the dude's name, but it's one of the books a professor gave to me, and it talks about kind of that very topic of like creative spark and how that comes through spirit. So when you said that, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. It was like, oh, that book. So yeah, I'll pass that along. It's a cool book.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. It's been really great this week. We'll be back again next week on the Beats and Balance podcast. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Same here. You have a good afternoon.
Our vibes stay sacred, our roots run deep. We rise and we